Also, rumour mill again. I've said for a very long time now that I expect to see Brock Lesnar at UFC 300. Now, the likelihood of that happening has somewhat waned, I'll be honest. I thought, honestly, they would really consider doing Brock Lesnar versus John Jones for UFC 300. I felt like, now that's a UFC 300 fight. No, whether it makes sense or not, don't bore me in the comments with, oh, but Brock he's not even in the rankings and blah, blah, blah. Shut it. Doesn't matter. It's Brock Lesnar versus John Jones. That is a UFC 300 main event. That is huge. It's a marquee fight. It's huge. Brock Lesnar's transcended the UFC at this point. Brock Lesnar is a brand in and of himself. All right? John Jones goes up to heavyweight, smokes Ciryl Gane, doesn't fight again for nearly a year, comes back, defends a heavyweight belt against Brock Lesnar, boom. That is huge. That's the one that you want. Let them both pop for steroids afterwards. Wonderful stuff. You know what I mean? You've got stories, headlines for months after that with all the steroid scandals. But the fight itself, the build-up would be phenomenal. Brock Lesnar, John Jones. That would be the one. John Jones is injured. John Jones is not going to be healthy for UFC 300, and that is sad. But all is not lost. You could easily do Brock Lesnar versus Tom Aspinall. Is it quite the same as John Jones versus Lesnar? No, it isn't. But you've still got that big name of Brock Lesnar. I do think Brock Lesnar is a guy that they need to tempt out of retirement because, look, and again, people talk about, oh, Brock was never that good and he's an embarrassment to the sport. Shut up. No, he isn't. Brock Lesnar was the first major pay-per-view star that the sport had. Before then, you had Chuck Liddell, T. Ortiz, maybe Ken Shamrock, but none of them put the UFC on the map like Brock Lesnar did. None of them brought the eyes to the sport that Brock Lesnar did. None of them made that impact that really brought the UFC into popular culture. Brock Lesnar was a big part of that. And actually, for that reason, he does need to be in the Hall of Fame, just by the way. That's a completely different argument altogether. But, yeah. Lesnar, I think, does need to be involved with UFC 300. Aspinall would be a good opponent at this time. Do I think that they'd have to pay Lesnar a lot? Because that's a horrible fight, and I don't think that Lesnar necessarily wins that fight. But it would be a fight that people would want to watch. I would want to watch it. There's an awful lot of you that would want to watch it, whether you want to admit it openly or not, because there's a lot of, the MMA fan circle, they're all a bit bitchy and fickle. They're like, oh, you like Brock Lesnar, you're not a real fan. Piss off. Brock Lesnar's the man. He went in there, he came from the WWE, and he came in and he won the heavyweight title. People talk about, oh, but he was on steroids. They were all on steroids back then. Did you see Alistair Overeem, right? That he was probably on way more steroids than Brock Lesnar. Did you see the state of Overeem? Come on, man. After their fight, not for nothing, one of those guys popped for steroids and it weren't Brock Lesnar. Just saying. Just saying. Look, it was a level playing field. They were all fucking juicing out of their minds back then. And Brock Lesnar went in there and he won the heavyweight title, defended it twice. And that's a lot for heavyweight. 2 defences was tied for most until Stipe broke that record. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Anyway, I digress. Speaking of Tom Aspinall, let's have a look at what him and John Jones have just been going back and forth. And you know what? These are my thoughts on this. I think that John Jones, he's fantastic, but he needs to be stripped of the title. He hasn't defended the belt in over a year. I know he's injured. I realise that. But he didn't even fight. It was for a vacant belt. He fought for a vacant belt. He's not defended it. Now he's sitting out. He's holding up the division, right? Because he keeps saying these things. Now, I understand that John Jones, absolute legend. Legend at this point. Could be the best to have ever put on gloves. Right? He deserves a lot of respect. Does he deserve to just hold the title and just and hold up the division? No. No, he doesn't. He says that he's only interested in a legacy fight with Stipe, and that's it. He doesn't want to do any more fights after that. That's fine. You deserve that. You deserve to be able to pick your legacy fight against Stipe. You don't need the title attached to that. You don't need the title attached to that. You just... the end of the day, John Jones is saying on Twitter to Tom Aspinall, well, look, I've already made my legacy. You need to make your legacy. How is he supposed to do that, John, when you're the one holding up the division by hogging the title and just not fighting? How is he supposed to build his legacy when you're the one that's holding up the division? And you said you won't fight Tom Aspinall. Right? Not for nothing. When you were the guy coming up, did any of the legends refuse to fight you? Did Shogun Hua refuse to fight you? No. No. They all agreed to fight you. And now the shoe is on the other foot. And John Jones is frankly being very selfish because he's like, no, I don't want to get beaten by one of these up-and-comers. It's like, yeah, but that's how the business works, dude. But you can't have the belt and not fight the up-and-comers. You can't hold the heavyweight title and not fight the interim heavyweight champion. That's stupid. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Vacate the belt. Vacate the belt. Do the right thing. Vacate the belt. Fight Stipe. Then both of you retire, go off into the sunset, and then Tom Aspinall can start carving out his legacy. If you don't want to fight Tom Aspinall, relinquish the belt. It's that simple. I see Tom Aspinall as a much more legitimate champion than John Jones at heavyweight at this point. I really do. Because he's willing to fight. I know that Jones is injured. That's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. But for Jones to come out and openly say that he's not willing to fight Tom Aspinall, it's just ridiculous. And until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.